Good morning, everyone. Very welcome. We will wait a little bit for everyone to come inside, then we will start soon. Thank you for patience. Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you here on our webinar today. I hope you are doing well, staying safe, and of course, adapting to the new normal for all of us. This time around, for the very first time, we are talking about the Australian family migration. So this session, I believe, is going to be very informative for all of you. Today's agenda is we are going to have an overview of the family visa and narrowing down to the parent visa, partner visa, and following by that for the child visa. Our keynote presenter today is Ms. Audrey Anthony. She is the Associate Director of Global Migration Solution with over 11 years of experience in this industry. She is in the depth knowledge of the skilled and family migration, of course, and she has experience handling cases with the urgency and critically. She is professional, she is detailed, and she is passionate, also beloved with our client. For today, we do have the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Feel free to write down your question in the chat box. We will catch up with them as much as time allows us. And for those we couldn't, we will revert back to you after the webinar. Thank you so much. Audrey, over to you.
Thank you, Sam. Hi, everyone. Very good morning to all of you. I hope everyone is doing well, doing safe. So today, the topic is about Australia family migration. In fact, this is the first time I'm doing a webinar on family migration. We have a lot of questions from clients on this topic. I usually do skill migration session, and I'm very excited of this topic today. So let's get into that. And before we start off, I'm just going to quickly go through the company. Okay, this is for the benefit of those who do not know about us yet. So Global Migration Solutions, we are basically carry ourselves as a premier migration advisory firm. We've been in the industry for 16 years, okay? And over the years, we have a very high success rate of 99%. And we have helped more than 12,000 families migrate to Australia, New Zealand. Majority is actually Australia, but there's also New Zealand and Portugal throughout the years as well. We have 5 offices across Asia Pacific, all right, which is in KL, Singapore, Vietnam, Hong Kong, and Australia. I'm proud to share with you that we've been also awarded multiple times the Global Migration Agency CEO Award, which I'll be walking you through in a bit as well. So this is the programs that we run. So for the longest time, we have been the pioneers in Australia and New Zealand migration. Over the years, we have started to diversify into other migration programs as well due to client demand. So we have been doing Portugal now for past 2-3 years already. This is by investment. US is also by investment. And our new B is actually Canada. So Canada is something that we've just initiated this year. All right. It's soon we will be sending more news about this program to all of you. This is the owner of the company. Okay, this is the founder of Global Migration Solutions and the registered migration agent, Desmond Ang. Okay, I'm sure to those who already know Global Migration, he's no stranger to y'all. He's been 16 years in the industry, and his background is actually ACCA. He was a chartered accountant prior to getting into the migration industry. And Desmond's strength is really, his strength in being very, very analytical. All right, and handling clients' cases that are with criticality, right? Next person is James. So James is our senior migration advisor. Okay, James is now a certified trainer for migration advisors, which means he is in charge. His knowledge is so in depth that he now trains new migration advisors. Okay, and does the CPD programs for migration agents. He was previously in the ICT background, and now he's in migration. So this is the award that Desmond has obtained for 2020, which is the top 25 agent under the U Global Award. And our partner company through James has also awarded the top 25 immigration companies. So we're very, very happy to share all these achievements with all of you. And this is definitely not possible without the support from all our clients. This is to share with you the license. Okay, so it is always important that when you are dealing with a migration agency, the license, this is how you can verify the license. You can actually go into the Australian government website and verify that the licenses are up to date, because every year there is a CPD that each agent must complete in order to be up to date with the migration knowledge. So this is the one for James and Desmond for Australia and New Zealand. All right, so that was just about some introduction to the company. Let's now get into the process. All right, so these are the common family visas. All right, so under this common family visas, parent visa, when do we actually do a parent visa? When you are actually filing for an original application. So when you're filing for a skill migration or a business migration application right now, Australia Australia does not define your parents as your immediate family unit. Hence, your parents cannot be included into your existing application. So for parents, the route is going to be different, whereby you need to get your visa first and then try to bring them in later. Okay, so we will go deeper in a while. As far as partner and child is concerned, they are your immediate family unit. However, why does a partner visa and a child visa come in now? This is for cases where you as a PR holder has already obtained your visa and you marry after that, right? So when you actually get a spouse or you marry after that, you need your partner to come along. That's when you do a partner visa. The same thing goes to a child. If your original application does not have your child included, then you add on, and that is through a child visa. So these are the popular family migration visas in Australia. Now, I believe you would have also heard, oh, you can migrate to Australia when your brother is there, your sister is there, uncle, aunt, cousins, right? So does this fall under the category of a direct family migration? Okay, it's not, yeah. All this comes under general skill migration, which means in order for you to use your brother, your sister, your cousin to actually migrate to Australia, you first will need to qualify for a general skill migration visa. So it is not just by on the basis of you having a family member that you can migrate to Australia. Okay, so just wanted to point out this difference, because a lot of people have been asking us if there's actually sibling migration. No, it doesn't work that way. I know that US has it, but not us, yeah? All right. Now, let's go into the first topic, which is the most popular one, parent visa. So let's look at the general criteria in order to qualify for a parent visa to Australia. The first criteria is that you need to be definitely a parent of a Australian PR or a citizen child, right? Then this is the most popular criteria, balance of family test. So what is balance of family test? In order for a person to qualify for a parent visa, you first will need to meet the balance of family test, which is you need to have 50% or more of your children in Australia as a PR or a citizen. So if you actually have 5 kids, that means 3 needs to be in Australia. If you actually have 4 kids, 2 needs to be in Australia. And take note, yeah, that they actually will need to be PR or citizen only. Okay, it cannot be like there are many come to us to say that they have their children in Australia, but they could be on a working visa, for example, and the working visa is not a PR, then they will not qualify. So the balance of family test is very important. It has to be met correctly. Then comes to the sponsorship. So who is the sponsor? So let's say you have 3 kids in Australia. Who will be the sponsor? The sponsor can be any child who has lived for 2 years in Australia. Okay, so that's the basic criteria, 2 years. Sometimes there are also situations where the child might not be working, like the daughter is not working. She can still be the sponsor. That's not a problem. She just needs to show that husband's sustainability is also there. Okay. Most importantly, health and character. Okay, health and character check is just to be free of criminal conduct. Okay, that's the basic requirement for every visa to Australia. Let's get into health. So health is very important. Okay, health checks. As long as you are healthy, generally healthy, free of any critical conditions, you would meet the general requirements of a parent visa medical. Okay, so these are the basic criteria. Now, I'm going to share with you the visa types so we can go a little bit more deeper. So the first visa that I would like to speak about is the most popular one again, which is the contributory parent visa. Okay, so what is the contributory parent visa? There's actually 2 types to it. There's an onshore and an offshore parent visa. So you would need to see which one is most suitable for you. For the offshore parent visa, there is no minimum age limit. Okay, but if you choose to do the application in Australia onshore, you must be above 65, which is technically 66. Okay, you need to be 66. This is the recent age requirement. So what is the benefit of doing an application onshore is you will be getting a bridging visa. So you can see that if you do a contributory age parent 864 bridging visa, you will be eligible for that. So what is the purpose of a bridging visa? A bridging visa basically allows you to live in Australia continuously until the visa is being decided. Okay, so it is useful for some, but for some clients, perhaps they would still prefer to do the offshore. Why is that so? Because a bridging visa, there are few categories. What is given to you immediately is a bridging visa A. A bridging visa A allows you to remain in Australia. What happens if you want to exit Australia? You need to apply for a bridging visa B. Okay, so every time you need to leave Australia, you must apply for a bridging visa first. So that's how it works. But if you do it offshore, then you can travel to Australia in and out as many times as you want under a tourist visa. The processing time for this has just gone up. Okay, it used to be something which used to be 1.5 years to get the visa. So those days everyone says that, oh, this is the cut queue fee, because you pay a large sum of money and you get the visa in about 1.5 years. At this point of time, the processing has increased also because the queue has increased. Okay, the queue is getting longer and longer. Hence why the processing time as of now is 58 months. All right, 58 months. So it may change. Okay, this take note, processing time is subjected to change. It can become shorter. It can also slightly become longer. All right, processing times always subject to change. As part of the contributory parent visa application as well. So we spoke about the earlier criteria, right? Balance of family test, you need to meet health, medical, and all this. Another component is in terms of payment, which is an assurance of support. You will need to place an assurance of support. This assurance of support is separate from the contributory visa fee. Okay, this assurance of support that you will need to place is 10,000 for the main applicant and 4,000 for the secondary applicant. And this money is actually refundable back to you after 10-year period, provided you did not withdraw any uh, all those welfare benefits. Okay, we're talking about all those critical welfare benefits. And what is the cost of this visa? The cost of this visa, the visa fees are fairly straightforward. But what I would like to highlight and share to you is about the contributory fee of the 43,600, right? So this fee of 43,600 is only collected just before approval. It is not something that you pay upfront. So in that way, I always tell clients like, hey, you know what? It's actually a very, very fair and safe process. There are no situations where you actually pay the 43,600 and you burn it. Okay, it doesn't work that way. What happens is all the criteria will be assessed. So let's say it's going to take 4.5 years from today. Okay, you will need to do your medical, you will need to do your police checks, and then your AOS, the assurance of support, needs to be successfully placed. Okay, just to share with you who can be the assurance of support. It can be anyone. It doesn't have to be the your immediate child. It can be a friend. Okay, anyone. Okay, so once all this have you've ticked all the boxes to be granted a parent visa, that is when immigration would actually invoice you to make the 43,600. So the moment you make the payment, you get your visa approved. Okay, so that is the contributory parent visa. So what is the other parent visa? It is the what we always call non-contributory. Okay, so non-contributory would mean that you don't have to pay the hefty sum at the end. So it's the same thing. So basically, what you can see here is for you to be, in order for you to lodge an application onshore in Australia, you have to be 66. Okay. Otherwise, everything has to be an offshore application. Okay. And again, why do we do onshore? Is to qualify to the bridging visa. So look at the processing time for this. Okay. It is up to 30 years. It could be longer. So this visa, you need to speak to us to see which one is a better visa option for you. Okay, because 30 years is, I know that it's quite a crazy wait. Okay, if we really need to see whether this is suitable for you or not. Okay, but that's how it is. Actually, about 3 years ago, they wanted to seize off this visa. This visa was actually abolished, but it was reinstated back. So that is the uh, this is fairly straightforward lah. Okay, and as a parent visa holder, because it's a full permanent residency visa, you will be entitled to PR benefits as below. Right, so you will get Medicare, which is the most important thing, right? At given the age, at any age, even now, right? Medicare is important. Then you get social security benefits, age pension. All this is after 10 years. You have full working rights, and to those who still wish to study, you can study. Okay. Now, let's get into the temporary parent visa. So this is something new actually. When I say new, it's just less than about 2 years ago. This visa is suitable for parents who do not meet the balance of family test. So let's say you have 5 children and only one is in Australia or two is in Australia. You do not qualify for a balance of family test, right? So you can choose to consider a temporary parent visa. But having said that, temporary parent visa will never lead to a permanent residency. Okay, it is just a visa for you to be long term in Australia. Okay, and how long can you be in Australia? We'll come to that in a bit. Okay, most important, let's go through the criteria. You do not need to have a balance of family tests. Again, parents, your children need to be PR. Health and character, as always. And most importantly, because this is not a permanent residency program, you're almost as good as a tourist going to Australia on a long term basis. You must first get your private health cover done. Okay, that's part of the process. So the visa that I'm talking about is the temporary sponsored parent 870. Okay, this is only an offshore application. Okay, it's you cannot do this onshore, it's an offshore application. So the duration of this visa is between 3 years to 5 years. So there are two types of visa you can apply for by the period. Okay, 3 years or 5 years. Processing time is very fast, 3 to 5 months, because it's almost like a tourist visa, right? However, at this point of time, due to the travel restrictions, this is not happening yet. Okay, you can't apply for this yet. And what is the benefit of this visa? Basically, you get to stay continuously in Australia. That is the benefit, because you can't work, you can't get medical, all right, but you get to be in Australia continuously without exiting for 3 years or 5 years. And the cost for 3 years is 5,000, the cost for 5 years is 10,000. So this visa is renewable up to 2 rounds. Okay, you can do 2 rounds of this visa, meaning maximum 10 years you get to be on this visa. Okay, so 5 years first round, 5 years second round. So after the 10 years, what happens? That's it, as in you cannot apply for this visa again. And as I mentioned, it doesn't have a pathway into a permanent residency. So this may suit some people as well. All right, so now let's just look at the important takeaways regarding a parent visa. So from the discussion earlier, so we know that the shortest permanent residency route for a parent is about 5 years, right? So which is not short. So we encourage you to start early so that you get into the queue at least. Okay, the longer we delay the queue, you are just going to get it much later, correct? And most importantly, medicals. Okay, the medical is not assessed when you're submitting an application. Let's say you're submitting an application in a month's time. Your medical is not your medical, as in your medical status is not taken into account at the point of submission, but it's when the case is allocated to a case officer. All right. So your case might be only allocated to a case officer, what, in another 4 years' time based on its current processing, right? That means that's when someone is looking at your case. Okay. At that time is when you will need to go for medicals. So it is your health 4 years down the road. So as you know, with aging, there's always some small little things that could happen. Okay, I'm not saying it will, it could happen. So it's always wise to do it early, much earlier, when we are healthier. Okay, and there's also an alternative to applying for the parent visa for two-person. Okay, which is you can always apply for one parent first. All right, okay, apply for one parent, and once that parent gets the visa, you can get, let's say you apply for your mom. Okay, and once your mom obtains her permanent residency and she completes the 5 year period in a permanent residency, after that time she can then sponsor your father under a spouse visa. So in that way, it is definitely more cost saving, right? Because you don't pay the 43,600 for two parents, but it will take time, correct? So we're talking about 5 years PR, 5 years processing time, 5 years PR. So it's about 10 years. Okay. So this is something you can consider as well. And we also need to be careful in assessing the onshore age parent visa versus contributory. So what is the onshore age parent visa? That means you be in Australia on a bridging visa continuously for the 20 years or 30 years versus whether you should do a contributory visa. Okay. Which one is the best? You need to take into account the fees for the private healthcare. So private healthcare fees a year is for a single person is about 3,000 Aussie. So we need to do the math to see if you're going to pay 3,000 Aussie per year, is it worth, or should we look at the contributory parent visa? So these are things to ponder. We can always get in touch with us and we can advise you further on which is a better route for you. Okay. Okay, now we're done with the parents. Now let's get into partner visa. Another interesting topic. Okay, I love meeting clients to do partner visa. It's always very, very exciting. So what is the general criteria? Number one, of course, you need to be either married, okay, and or a de facto relationship. So what is a de facto relationship? Australia recognizes de facto relationship whereby you are not married, but you are in a genuine relationship and cohabitation, like staying for at least 1 year. Okay. And we need to prove that your relationship is genuine. You also need to meet health and character requirements. Okay. So there is no English test. Oh, actually, there's an English test requirement that has just come in. That's correct. Yeah, for partner, but it's very, very minimal. I would like to highlight and go deeper for the benefit of all of you into a genuine relationship on how do we prove a genuine relationship. So I'm sharing with you that these are the five aspects that you must focus, that you must be meeting, right? All these aspects must be met in order to file a complete and a good spouse visa application. Number one, sponsor settlement. So sponsor settlement is your partner, your Australian partner that you're marrying to. He needs to be someone who is also self-sufficient, right? He needs to be in Australia. If he's not going to Australia, if he's not in Australia, you need to show that he is almost going to Australia, making the move to Australia. Okay, that's what you call a sponsor settlement. Number two, commitment. What is commitment? How do you show your commitment? Marriage certificate is one of it. Okay, but marriage certificate alone is not enough. So this is where you need to show more commitments in terms of like beneficiaries, and we usually get clients to actually come up with things like show a bit of commitment to your beneficiaries, your wills, or anything like that. Okay, Australia also wants to see that as a couple, you share finances. How do you actually share finances? I know that this topic is very sticky. I've spoken to many clients and like, hey, you know what? We are actually independent. We both earn, right? We don't need each other's financial support and all that. Okay, that's fairly fine, right? It's okay. But what we're trying to see is, yes, you both are independent, but how do you come together as a family component to actually manage the expenses in the home, right? So that is why joint bank account is like one of the most easiest and important um, evidence of proving a genuine relationship, whereby you are actually saying that you are both sharing, right, doing each other's part to pay to sustain the family. Okay, then we have nature of household. Nature of household is how do you actually get by each day managing your home, right? In terms of, so there are many cases now where they're not living together yet. So how do you stay in touch when you're not living together, right? If your partner is in Australia, you are in Malaysia. So this is where we need to prove that you're in constant communication. This is where we ask for call logs. Okay, we don't need to have your detailed messages, no. Okay, but call logs. How do you stay in touch? Do you travel to see each other? It's all about maintaining the entire relationship. Lastly is social. It is important to meet the criteria that you are socially recognized as a couple. Okay, because this is very important. It just cannot be that you and this person plan to get married and no one knows that, because this is basically to eliminate all those fake applications. Okay, so socially recognized is basically to get evidences from friends and family to show that you are socially recognized as a couple, attending weddings together, birthday parties together. So you need to prove with photographs. We need to get declarations from friends and family, right, to say that yes, we acknowledge that you are in a genuine relationship. So these are the five aspects that you need to meet in order to prove that you are in a genuine relationship to file a spouse visa application. So let's get into the types of partner visa application. So we have the offshore application, which is 309 and 100. So what's the difference between 309? So generally you will be getting a provisional visa first, okay, which is like a temporary parent visa, a temporary partner visa for 2 years. After the 2 years, you will need to, your relationship will be assessed again to see that it has been continuing from the time you first got your 309. Okay, then you need to give in further documents that are more up to date, that you are still continuing, you're already in Australia and all that. Then you would get the surplus 100, which is the 5 year PR. Okay, but do not worry, because as much as you don't get a direct PR, but the value of that 309 is exactly like a PR. Okay, which means you can work, you will have full Medicare, you get full PR benefits. The only thing is they don't grant you the 5 year period immediately, because they want to be able to review this in 2 years to make sure it's genuine. Okay, so that is the offshore processing is about 6 to 8 months. And now let's look at the partner visa onshore. Okay, So both are the same, okay? Both are actually the same. Oh, sorry, I think there's an error on the fee. The fee for partner visa for onshore is also 77. The fees are the same, okay? But look at the processing time. That is usually the difference, okay? The processing time for onshore applications are generally much longer compared to the offshore application. So I usually always encourage my clients, of course, depending on their situation, whether we will be able to file the application in Malaysia or not first, because this application is processed with the local High Com, not in Australia immigration. That is the difference between partner visa and child visa. Applications are processed in the local High Commission. Okay, so the pros and cons: one, you get it fast; the other one, you get it much like after the 1.5 years to 2 years. However, while being in Australia, you can still work and study and get Medicare. Okay, so then we have the prospective marriage visa. This visa is an option. Generally, we wouldn't recommend this so much because it's generally a two-step process. Okay, you must do this application offshore, and this is for cases where you are not married yet, but you are going to migrate to Australia with the intention that you will be marrying within 9 months of the period of the time your visa is approved. So let's say your visa is approved today. Within 9 months, you must show that you are married. Okay, then you'll be getting the full um, 820. Okay, which is the onshore partner visa. Okay, so this process is two steps, so we don't see a reason why you should do a two step. I think in fact we can plan it better when you speak to us, right, to see is there really a need for two step, or can we just do one shot, right? Because the matter of the even for the 309/100, which is the offshore partner visa, your merit cert doesn't have to be given immediately. It can be given while processing as well. Okay, so this is something many do not know. Okay, but we've checked the policy and legislation, and it actually allows that. So let us plan that for you. So what are the important takeaways from the partner visa? Marriage cert is the most basic document. Okay, everyone thinks that, hey, I have a marriage cert, shouldn't this be good enough to apply for a parent visa? It's not. I always say it's the basic document. It's the most basic document for you to even qualify to apply for a spouse visa. Hence why it is important to ensure all the aspects are met. Okay? All the aspects needs to be met. If you can't meet any of those five aspects, then we need to strategize and tell you how can we work on providing and building more evidences to prove that indeed your relationship is a genuine one. Okay, so we have even done a very tough case, and proud to say that it was approved. This was a case where there was a huge age difference between an Australian citizen and his partner. Okay, that was like she was 20 something, he was 50. So a lot of red flags. Okay, and she was from a high risk country, and you know that Australia is very protective about an Australian citizen. So they did this application on their own, and it actually did not get through. And they came to us. This was about 4 years ago, I believe. Yeah, and they came to us. There was a lot of work to actually prove, because it was a online relationship. Okay, very interesting case, but very happy to deliver the outcome. Okay, so we have to strategize the aspects carefully. Yeah, and good news is partner visa has the highest quota for this year. Okay, given the COVID situation and all this, partner visas quota for this year is 72,300, because there's a lot of backlog as well, especially on the onshore application that they need to clear. So we'll plan for you whether it's onshore or offshore. And again, back to prospective marriage visa is not practical for now, because even if you hold a prospective marriage visa right now, you still will not be able to travel to Australia to say that, hey, I need to travel to Australia and get married. Okay, that's not under the list of travel exemptions. So you do know how the travel restrictions are now, right? You can only go to Australia if you're a PR, if you're a full PR, and if you're not, you need to actually state a particular reason that is strong enough. and getting married, unfortunately, is not strong enough. Okay, so prospective marriage visa is not something we should think of at this point of time. Okay. Okay, so now we've started with parent, partner. We shall end the session with child. Okay, child visa is fairly straightforward. Okay, you just need to have your of course you need to be PR. Child visa can be done for anyone generally below the age of 25, but the moment your child is above 18 but below 25, there will be you will need to prove a lot of dependency, that this person is still studying, and there are more factors to prove that this person is still dependent and doesn't earn income. Okay, and most importantly, the child also has to be single. Okay, so generally, when your child is, of course, 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, no problem, very straightforward. But once they have already gotten into a certain age and you want to add the child into the application, we need to look at it more carefully. And character check is only if they are above 16 years old. Below 16 years old, there's no character check, but health check is across for any age. So the one of the most important thing to remember is, in order to migrate to Australia, health check is a must, regardless what is your age. Okay. Okay. So what are the child visa we have? It's basically just this 101 and 802. One is offshore, one is onshore. The processing time is currently at about 13 to 15 months for onshore. For for local, it's about 10 to 12 months. Okay, it's generally faster processing time. As much as I can't make a direct reference to a published time for offshore, I would like to share with you generally our own records, right? A child visa, we used to get child visas approved in about 2 to 3 months. Okay, it used to be as fast as that, the ones that are processed here locally in the high com. Okay, this is our internal records, don't quote me by it. Okay, because I still need to go by published times, right? Published time is in fact longer than this. Okay, so then there's another parent, a child visa. Don't be confused with this child visa. It's called a dependent child 445. Okay, so what is a dependent child 445? This visa is specifically, earlier we spoke about the partner visa, right? So when you are on the temporary partner visa, whereby you haven't gotten the 5 years yet, so which is the 309. When you're on the 309, you got your visa approved, and let's say you need to add a child after your visa is approved, then that's when you need to apply for a dependent child visa, which means it's in between you having the partner visa, the temporary partner visa, and the full permanent partner visa. The moment you have a full PR as a spouse visa, you can do a child visa. But what happens is, when you don't have this full 5 years yet, you're still on the 2 years, right? Then you need to add the child via a dependent child visa. Okay, so prices are the same for all these visa. So very few takeaways to share with you for child visa. Okay, it's one of the least priorities. Okay, so if you are thinking of migrating next year and you think that you need to add your child, I think it's wise to start the process soon, because we have seen cases where they have caps for the year for child visa, and the caps are low. So what happens is, if they cannot grant it in this fiscal year, they will grant it in next fiscal year. So always start early. There is no harm in starting early, because the moment you get a child visa, the visa is for 5 years anyway. No loss. Okay, always start your paperwork early. All right. So I think I've come to the end of the session for today. We've gone through the parent visa, partner visa, and child visa in totality. I hope that you've managed to get some information on how this works. Okay. If there's any further questions, you can always reach out to us as well. All right. And Sam, I'm happy to answer any questions that we have from the audience today.
Well, we do have a lot of question as we expected it because it's such an interesting topic, Audrey.
Okay.
So basically, the first question, and it's interesting one, I will say, they're asking that does temporary parent visa allow unlimited re-entry over visa period? Another question from same person, does temporary parent visa entitled to Medicare?
Okay, so if you're talking about a temporary parent visa, it's the 870. yes, you have unlimited entry for that 3 year period that you have, or if you apply for 5 years, you have unlimited. Okay, so number one, it's unlimited. Number two, it can be even continuous. Okay, you don't have to exit Australia for 5 years. And there is no Medicare entitlement because Medicare is only given to permanent residency holders. So how do you bridge the gap in terms of the medical needs? Hence why you must have a private health cover before applying for this visa.
Correct. Perfect. Another question which I will answer, they're asking, is 43,600, is it individual? Which is yes. So it's per head,
In
right?
indeed, that's correct.
So if it is a mom and dad going there, so you need to times two 43,600.
Yeah, that's correct. That is why hence why there's actually an option, right? Of planning it in a two-stage process. Like I mentioned, we do for one parent first, and the other parent would be technically after 10 years. I know that's a very long wait, but this is what we used to do. Like when parents visa used to take a processing time about 2 years, we used to do this. So we get for the mom first or the dad first. Once the parent gets a 5 years visa, completes the 5 year period, apply a partner visa for the. So it is a parent come partner visa, not a parent visa in total for both of them.
But for now, actually, with the period of them to waiting for it, we still can go for this option.
We can. There's we can. It's whether it's practical or not, right? Because we need to think of everything in a 10 year period. Does it make sense? It may make sense for those who are still very actively running a business here, right? For example,
Yes.
the mom wants to go and be with the children. The husband could be still actively managing a business here and only wants to look at it as a point, as a form of retirement. Why not? Why do you want to pay the 43,600 for two-person, right? So we can always look into this option if practical.
Correct. Okay, the next question is the 43,600 fee paid for parent visa prior to approval refundable to the applicant?
Prior to approval, refundable. So I'm not sure if I'm getting this question correctly. The 43,600 is actually collected at the very last stage. Okay. So it's not something that you pay upfront, whereby like after 2 years you decided, hey, I want to withdraw this application, so I want to get 43,600 back. It's not like that. So basically, you will only pay the 43,600 if you're actually wanting the visa, and I don't see a reason why you would be refunding, because the moment you pay, you'll get the visa in a week. That's it. It's
Oh,
the
okay.
last stage. So
So
I
actually, they are waited for so long, then why you want
yeah,
to get it? Yes.
correct. So it's not that you pay this early and you change your mind. There's no room for that, because you're collecting this when everything is ready, and you pay it if you want it. You don't want to go ahead with it. Don't pay the 43,600. That's it. Okay.
Understand. Fair enough. Another one is, what are the health criteria for parents? Do you have a list of the health condition? What are the health criteria? Is a medical, I mean, they need to go through the test, right?
Yes, that's correct. So basically, the health check that you will need to do is pretty basic actually. You need to do a chest x-ray. Okay, this is to see if you're free from TB, and you need to do a blood test and a urine test. These are the main tests that will be done. And what are they trying to ascertain from this is that you are free from critical conditions. So we do not have a list of what is not going to be possible for migration, but we know that whatever that is going to be of a high medical cost to Australia is what that unfortunately will not get through. So very straightforward. If you have organ failures, right? HIV, TB, hepatitis B at a severe level, all this unfortunately will not pass. Okay, but if you have a specific medical condition that is that you had in the past, but currently you're not taking any medication, and it's not going to be a future medical cost to Australia, then it should be fine.
Okay, perfect. And then other one is, I got a spouse. She is Malaysian, been in Melbourne, Australia since 2019. and hold visa subclass 500, which is a student if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Can she sponsor me as a partner in order to get me there, be with her? Interesting.
Okay, definitely it won't be a partner visa, because for partner visa, you need to be a permanent resident. Okay,
Yes,
but so this person is a spouse, right? So but we can see into aspects of seeing if we can include this person as a dependent on the student visa.
yes. On the
Yeah,
student visa category, which will
correct.
goes on that way. Okay, for the next question, is there any age limit for the temporary parent visa application?
No, no limit.
No limit. Perfect. Another question. I'm currently a PR staying in Malaysia. Can I re-enter Australia for tertiary studies within this year? I left Australia in 2017 and have stayed in Malaysia up to now.
Okay, so this person is a PR. This person is a PR, correct, Sam?
Correct. I'm
Okay.
currently a PR staying in Malaysia.
Okay. Okay.
And
As long as you are a PR holder, you can enter Australia even during this travel restriction. The only ones who can enter Australia right now is PR or citizen, and for temporary resident holders is more on business migration. Okay, so other than this, you need to have a critical reason or a compelling reason to enter Australia. But if you're PR, no problem.
PR, anytime they can enter
Yes,
because they
that's correct.
consider,
That's
yes,
correct.
correct.
Just subject to flights limitations, of course.
Yes. And the currently is not, it is getting a little bit better for those PR. The last question, Audrey, asking that after paying 43,600, we will not get back this money in future. I mean, this person is a little bit worried about the 43,600.
Yes, that's correct. That 43,600 is not refundable.
Yes.
It's the cost of the application itself. But take it in a more positive way, because as a parent, when you migrate to Australia, technically you're actually not going there to contribute to the economy, right? You're actually going there to be with your family. And in terms of the economic benefit to Australia, there's none to a certain extent, correct? But potentially, but you have become the PR and they need to take care of you, take care of your welfare benefits, take care of your health, right? So in terms of you in actually taking care of your medical costs, this is where you're paying the 43,600. Okay, so it's actually a win-win situation, because if you are not a PR, you still need to end up paying private health insurance,
Yeah.
right?
So it is fair actually. In the other
Yes,
hand, when
it's
we
very
look at it, it's the Australia going to take care of your parents so well. So it's
yes.
fair.
And AOS, the only the assurance of support, the AOS that I mentioned, 10,000 for the first parent, 4,000 for the second parent, that is refundable after 10 years.
Okay, there is another question, but it's about the student visa, which we will come back to you after the webinar because here is more on the family focus. I mean, we have more. So let's go wrap up this round. For those who are not get the response yet, we will come back to you after this session. We have your name, we have your number. And if any other thing, please reach out to us with the number on the WhatsApp or call on your screen with the email address. You can write email, you can drop your question, anything, we will come back to you immediately. Thank you so much, Audrey, for all the information. It was a lot of new information, even for me, a lot of detail that I learned today. And I hope all of you as well. Thank you so much and have a good weekend ahead. Be safe,
Pleasure,
you all.
pleasure. Thank you everyone. Have a good weekend and stay safe. Bye.
Bye.